to the VIA podcast, the 4,000 kilometre ultracycling challenge across Europe, where community meets competition. Here we talk about the fascinating people and their stories behind the event. I'm Ian, the founder and main organiser of VIA.
I'm Pete, the broom wagon driver and ultra race mechanic.
Fiona was one of the first riders I met in Chapter 1 of VIA, and one of the reasons I was coming to VIA to help support her, something we'll talk about later. But probably the best way to start this, Fee, I think, is for us to fire some quick questions at you, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, sure.
So, first off, how old are you?
I am 38.
Wow, just a youngster. I do feel like you're our ultracycling daughter.
So, what's your middle name?
Kathleen.
Kathleen.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have you pegged as a Kathleen? Was that inspired by anything?
No, I don't think so. I think it was just random and worked with Fiona, but yeah.
Nice. So, what's your favourite ultracycling snack? Have you got one?
My favourite, I'm a lover of, it's not really a snack, but McDonald's. I am always at McDonald's. When my daddy was tracking me, he was always like noticing which McDonald's I was in. So yeah.
How many McDonald's did you hit in Chapter 2? Did you keep count?
How many of that? I was doing multiple a day sometimes, so it must have been quite a lot.
Like 40 McDonald's across Europe.
Yeah, what, like 30 days? So, yeah.
Tour de McDonald's. Brilliant. Bivvy or hotel?
Hotel, definitely. I do love a hotel. I love to get some good quality sleep. I think that seems to be my strategy.
Can you bivvy there?
I have bivvied, and I did bivvy, and I do bivvy if I need to, but I do love just getting a hotel and having, on VIA, it was a good 4 or 5 hours a night and a nice shower, and that really helped my head as much as anything.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it can make a big difference. We've seen that some of the riders at the real pointy end of the race are getting really solid amounts of sleep. I don't think it's necessarily true that you have to absolutely starve yourself of sleep in order to perform at your best.
No, you don't. That's a real myth.
Yeah. Sophie, where are you now?
Where am I now? I'm in Norfolk, in my home in Norfolk.
What's the closest town to you in Norfolk? I know I've been close by, seeing
Norwich.
To Norwich, because you popped out to see me on Further East, which was lovely.
Oh yeah, that was near Dis. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, that was wonderful. What's your profession? What have you done in the past? What kind of jobs?
So I originally trained as an accountant, and then I retrained as a data analyst, and now I've retrained as a cycling coach.
Wow!
So lots of data along all those, really.
And that's a big move into coaching, and I'm sure we'll talk about that later.
So, when did you start ultracycling?
So my first ultracycling race was in the end of 2023 in Sardinia. So that was my beginning of my journey. And then VIA was a big step up the following year, 4,000 kilometers.
That's some nice locations for two of your first races. That's better than I did 1,000 kilometers through rainy Wales.
Yeah, Sardinia was amazing as a first race, and I did luck out. It was lovely weather, and it was great. I love Sardinia.
What was the 1,000 kilometers through Wales? I mean, I think I prefer Sardinia as well.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that, some people will start with those kind of like, how did you get into cycling? Oh, I did Brian Chapman, or I did a race that involved me being rained on for 4 days solid. And that drove me to riding ultras. And then you've got, I went to Sardinia and rode in the sunshine for a week.
I did Brian Chapman a couple of years ago, maybe 2-3 years ago, and it was nothing but sunshine. We had ice creams. You'd approve, Fiona, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, you also host your own podcast with Pete called
We'll ride for ice cream, where I found
Ride for
out
Ice
or
Cream.
remembered that Pete doesn't eat ice cream. So
yeah.
We're right for sorbet. Yeah.
Lactose-free, gluten-free. Is there anything in your diet left?
Sadly, not really. No.
Nightmare to cook for.
It does.
You are. So, what would you say your biggest ultracycling success is?
I think finishing VIA last year through, I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but a lot of issues, and pushing through right to the end and actually still achieving what I wanted to achieve despite lots of setbacks.
I think everybody was mightily impressed, and rightfully so, at the achievements of you getting to the finish of that.
Some of us were very worried as well for some days, I think.
Yeah.
Really, really hoping that you'd make it to the finish, which you did. So it was our thoughts and prayers.
Thank you. It was a close call. I think another 20 miles and I might not have made it. So yeah.
Written determination. Even if you walk to the finish, we'd have made it. You've had time.
Yeah, exactly. Have you had any other sporting success? Anything? Any sports? Anything?
No, I didn't really do any sports before cycling and ultracycling. I'm relatively new to cycling. And before that, I mean, I was awful at PE in school. I wasn't sporty. I thought sports weren't for me, to be honest. And it wasn't until I was, about 34, that when I started cycling, that I realised that I love a sport and I love cycling. But before that, I really thought I was just not a sporty person, and I didn't really get involved in anything.
I've heard that from a few people, actually, who've gone on to become really good cyclists. So maybe if there's a listener out there who thinks that they're not good at cycling, they can look at somebody like you and think, wow, what an achievement, in spite of all the setbacks. So, next question, Pete.
So how did you originally find out about VIA?
I originally found out, I was in a training camp for Ultracyclists, Dot Booster, and there was a couple of people who were going to be doing VIA or wanted to do VIA, and that was the first time I'd heard about it. And one of my friends put me in contact with Ian because I heard about it and I really wanted to do it. And that's how I heard about it and got onto the first chapter 1.
Fantastic. Word of mouth.
Yeah.
You're part of the VIA family now.
Yeah.
So we've all been sucked into this community that Ian has created.
And Ingeborg.
Yeah.
And a bit of you.
Think.
Yeah, but everybody's helped to create that community. Do you have any other 2026 races other than Chapter 3 planned for 2026?
No, I did have a few races that I wanted to do, but my neck is still not great. So rather than committing to things and starting to start pulling out, I've decided I'm only really committed to VIA at the moment. And if my neck in the next month or so starts becoming better, so I think I can do races, then I will start entering them and maybe do my own thing, my own kind of long distance things to test it, really, basically before VIA. But I didn't want to start committing to things, then mentally having to pull out of them. I think I would have struggled a bit. So I'm only committed to VIA this year so far.
Yeah. Well, we are delighted to have you. It's probably a good time to talk about your neck injury, which was, one of the big stories of Chapter 2 for for everybody who was following the race. And yeah, what happened?
Yeah, I mean, it's the biggest stories. Everybody was voting. Yeah, this was an amazing thing to see.
The first part of the race went really well. and I was feeling really strong. And all the way up to the first refuge, I was feeling good, in control, completely in control, I think. I'd learned a lot from the previous year, and I was being quite good at resting and pacing myself, because my goal wasn't to race others at that point. My goal was to get to the finish by a certain time. So that was fine. And then there was a period in the Alps that was really wet and cold. And I struggled a bit mentally, and I have a lot of layers with me, so I coped. And then I think it was about 1,000 kilometers towards the end, I suddenly started getting issues with my neck. And it happened in the space of a couple of hours, then struggling to see. And I'd never experienced anything like it before. I've heard of Shermer's neck, and I'd seen another rider with a what was it called, between
Like a bungee cord he had.
a bungee cord, yeah. And I'd asked him about it. He'd passed me, and I asked him about it, and he told me about his Shermer's neck issues. I thought, wow. Oh my God. And little did I know that I would be struggling a few days later. And then, yeah, I got this issue, and I started to panic because I could only really see my feet. And I struggled on for maybe a day or so. And I then realised, I spoke to my coach, who was amazing, and said, like, you just need to stop and try and rest as much as you can now. So I found a hotel, I think, and I can't remember, I think it was just before Frankfurt. I found a photo hotel, and I stayed there and rested for about 15 hours. So I was stopped for a long period of time, and I basically stopped as long as I thought I could get away with stopping and still make it to when I wanted to finish. So then I set off again, and it was maybe a little bit better, but it quickly got worse. And then I was really struggling. I had one hand on top of my tri bars, and then the other trying to push my head up so I could see, which is mentally exhausting.
Hands on the pads on the armrests, didn't you? So
yeah.
You were trying to push yourself as high as possible.
Yeah, just so I could see. But it was physically, it was horrible, but mentally I think it was really horrible. Just not being able to see the road, and knowing that it was just getting worse. And I was stopping a lot to try and stretch. I would give myself smaller and smaller targets of just get here and then stop and then just get here. And obviously it plays on your mind, because you think I'm not going to make it now. And then I think I was only about 200 kilometers from the finish. And I really thought that was it. I thought, I literally can't go any further. I'm at my limit now. And I really wanted to stop. And I was in a McDonald's, and I spoke to Pete. And the idea was suggested about using an inner tube to help keep my head up. So attaching it from my helmet to my bag, and then forcing my head up enough so it could at least see. And I was lucky enough to be in a flat region. So I think if I had been in the middle of the Alps, I would have had to stop, because I don't think it would have been safe descending, and I don't think I would have felt safe. But I managed to do this contraption enough to gingerly try and ride, and very slowly, because I was a little bit worried because I was obviously attached to my bike. So yeah, I set off into the night like that. And the plan was to kind of go through the night. And I actually met a fellow rider in the middle of the night. I think I'd gone up maybe a couple of hours, and I was just stood on the side of the road trying to stretch and compose myself. And someone I know actually from a dog booster camp, John, he came up, and I could see him coming. And John Wood, yeah. And he came and he saw me, and he didn't know what happened. I was a little bit ahead of him, and then suddenly I'd stopped, really. I kept stopping, and so he'd caught me. And he was so sweet and wanted to know what happened. And that's something I really like about the VIA community and the VIA race is being able to support each other on the road, and I felt comfortable to have that conversation, and he felt comfortable to be able to talk to me and ask, just human to human, are you okay? Do you need anything? And not have to worry about that. And I reassured him I was fine, and he had my phone number, I had his phone number, so if anything happened I would call him. And so then he set off, and I carried on. And then it was a hard day, and I met Pete. Actually, I saw Pete about 50 miles from the finish, and I was overcome with emotion, because it had been such a hard few days, and just to see someone like I knew and a friendly face I was just overcome. And also I was like, I'm actually going to finish this. I think I'm going to finish this after so many days of struggling. And so I carried on my ploddy pace and keep stopping and resting. And I finally got to the finish and feeling completely overcome, really. And I don't think I had much more in me mentally. I think I was reaching my limit, and physically as well. I think my neck was reaching the point where I wouldn't be able to continue much longer. And I'm really glad I didn't see any pictures of myself while this was happening, because I look back at the video and the picture, and I didn't realise. I was a little bit worried at one point. I was like, do you think people think I'm making this up?
No.
I was like, I wonder if people think I'm over exaggerating, because I really can't see, but maybe they think I'm just saying this. And I look back at the pictures, I was like, oh, no, you can see that. Something's wrong.
Yeah.
And then,
fine.
When we look at you at the film, I think the team captured you at the McDonald's surreptitiously. I don't think you knew they were there. And you were just constantly massaging your neck and looking rubbish. And also, I think Sophie Gatto captures that moment when you met Pete. Pete was transporting her around at that point. So he captured that beautifully. So, and yeah, John Wood, that was very nice of him. And it's great that he was comfortable with talking to you. And he's returning for chapter 3 as well.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, the McDonald's where we talked you through the inner tube strapping, inspired by Johan Bolland, who's the chap who had the bungee cord, and
another fear rider,
who suffered from it in the past, so had kind of come pre-prepared
every time. Every time he said,
Wow. He said it eases, doesn't it? I think he'd said it settles after a while, but it goes through a bit of a roller coaster of discomfort.
Yeah. He did say he's used that contraption. It's a bungee attached to his rear rack, and he gets Shermer's neck every single time. And every single time he uses the contraption, it gets better. But it didn't this time, but he still made it.
Yeah.
And he still made it in very good time.
Two things, isn't there? One is testament to how well the first half of your ride had gone. You know, when we talked before the race about goals and ambitions and, targets you were setting yourself for completing, to be able to rest for 15 hours in the midst of the race, in the middle of the race, really, or 2/3 way, and then still make is testament to how hard you worked in the build up to Veer, and how well prepared you were, and just your mental resilience to get through it.
Yeah. How did your legs feel? You say about 200 kilometers, it was getting really bad, and you needed the contraption. But how did your legs feel at that point? You must have been in the Netherlands, I think, then.
Yeah, well, that's more like home territory from Norfolk, and my legs were surprisingly okay. I definitely felt fitter the whole way than the previous year, and my legs and body felt stronger. So that was equally frustrating then something else that I hadn't thought of was the issue. But yeah, I think it was good, I suppose, a good takeaway that my legs felt good.
Yeah. I think you were doing a good pace every day, and you got into that rhythm. So you must have been so much stronger than the previous year. But there was another thing which you improved vastly, which you've kind of brushed over. Last year, you were for chapter 1, you were complaining about something else that you didn't think you got right, but you improved it a lot for chapter 2.
I can't remember. My knee?
Well, there's your knee, for sure. Your knee wasn't an issue last year in chapter 2. But your free routing.
Ah, yes.
Oh, you've forgotten about it. It just went so smoothly this year.
Yeah, the first year that was a real issue. I didn't get that right at all. And I was going off, so right from the beginning, I was going off on tangents and making
Literally.
my life a lot harder than it could be. And last year was a vast improvement, and I could tell from, I seemed to be around people a lot more at the beginning, and right at the beginning of the previous year, I was just like, everyone went one way and I went the other. And so putting the work in beforehand to do the routing and kind of knowing what I'm doing with routing. I think I thought I knew what I was doing, but I didn't. So putting a lot of effort into that really helped, I think.
Did you practice plotting routes before chapter 2?
Well, I had done a few, but I think how I did it was a little bit different. I think before I thought, I'll avoid all of the big places and all the big cities because that's the right thing to do. And then putting myself in the mountains to go round them, then you wouldn't have resource points. I think it was a big learning curve that maybe that wasn't the right thing to do. And so this time I went with a different strategy of more going and spending more time on it as well. So going down and putting it in by GPS and spending time looking at the route and making sure I was on appropriate roads and things. So I think, the first time was a big learning experience, and I think it really
Massive
helps to
improvement.
put effort in. Yeah.
Do you prefer free routing or fixed route?
Fixed route, I think, probably, just because I don't know. I'm just a little bit. I was quite scared going into the second chapter because of how much I thought I mucked up on the first one. So, but then with the fixed route, you know that you are going to be surrounded by riders like a lot more. You're not going to be going off on your own maybe for periods of time. So, yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Ian has feelings about fixed routes. So
I've feelings about free routing as well. I mean, I think one of the joys about free routing is you get to learn about the places that you pass through, because you're looking at things like topography, resupply, towns, where to stop, what the scenery is like, how busy the roads are. You learn lots. You can learn a lot about countries and continents in this way. Whereas fixed route, they're not always great. I've done some pretty terrible fixed routes, but free routing, it's in your own power to determine where you go depending on the time of day that you encounter something. So if you go through like London, for example, at 4 or 5 o'clock, that's in the afternoon and evening, that's a terrible time to go through. But if you were routing at 2 o'clock in the morning, it wouldn't be a problem.
That's true. Yeah.
And Ingeborg, as a regular commuter through London, has said it's really nice late at night, 11 o'clock, midnight. There's nobody around, so it becomes very easy. It becomes in your power to do whatever you like, stop whenever you like, go wherever you like, and you're not worrying about somebody else's poor routing, which I've heard horror stories from other races and Audaxes, in fact.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more down to the work of the organisers, isn't there? for the fixed route. You're trusting them to have ridden it and not just driven it, which is the big difference. You can go and drive a fixed route. It can seem fine in the car. It's not necessarily the case once you're on a bike.
Yeah. I've heard some horror stories from a particular race, well, a number of races, but one particular race which traversed Italy. And they had said that they had just done a reconnaissance by car. And there's no way you should do that, really. You need to be on the bike. And that's why, even though V is a free routing race, I still ride pretty much all of it.
Oh, wow.
So that I know where I'm sending you, that it's beautiful, that it's peaceful, and it's minimum risk.
Yeah. So, you think you're free routing. Ian really knows exactly where pretty much everybody is going to go and the order in which they will be finishing. It is terrifying how accurate he is. It'll be like, oh yeah, these people are going to go over here and these ones will go over here. And at this point, these people will split off and go this way. This is a mistake. All of these people will then drop a load of play. And this is exactly what happens every time. It's
wow.
It's really upsetting because you should, if he says, what order do you think people will finish in? Just go with whatever Ian says. I've been caught out several times by that. Oh yeah, they're going to do really well. And then no, things go wrong for them.
Yeah. The gates, I like to choose the gates to be some good strategic choices. It's all about choice. It's your choice, but there's one best choice, really.
Yeah. It's the illusion of choice.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So, Pete, you're not supposed to share that.
Sorry.
Cut that.
Giving away the secrets. Yeah. It's a good job you can't edit these. So, Fee, when you came to chapter 1, one of the things I'd been kind of tasked with was sort of being a friendly face and providing you with some support. And you've been very open and very honest about your autism diagnosis and how the cycling has helped you. Can you tell us, or are you happy to talk a bit more about your diagnosis and kind of how what cycling has brought to that to you in helping deal with that, cope with it?
Yeah, how long has it been since your diagnosis of autism? Because I have a particular interest in autism. One of my daughters is autistic, and I know lots of people who are autistic. I've raised money for the National Autism Society. So yeah, this is a fascinating topic. So when was it that you realised that you were autistic or something was up, and then your diagnosis?
So relatively late, I suppose. I'd struggled a lot as a child, and then it hit a crisis point as a teenager. And I really struggled dropping out of school, hospital admissions, and was put on medication for depression. And then things got worse about 26. And I had a full-on breakdown, really, and put on even stronger medications, a lot of them. And life was hard, and I didn't know why. And this diagnosis of depression didn't really fit. And the more they upped the medication, that didn't help. And then about when I was 34, so in like 2022, I'd actually just started a new job, and I went in the first day and I lasted till about 10:30, and I went to the toilets and couldn't stop crying, and they had to send me home. And then I happened to read on Facebook someone had reposted an article about her autistic daughter and her, and I'd never really thought that I was autistic. It never came into my head. All I knew about autism was how the stereotypical autistic boy was, which wasn't me, and it never was as a child. But this story was just resonated so much. And I was like, she's talking about me. And then I looked into it, and I was like, that literally like all my problems. It just summed up in this diagnosis, I think. So I went to the doctor, and it was a long waiting list. So I was lucky enough through work actually to be able to get the diagnosis privately, because at this point I was on a lot of medication. So things like lithium, venlafaxine, trazodone, and high doses. And I really wanted to come off them because I was like, this isn't right for me. This isn't helping me. And it has a lot of side effects. And I don't think this is the problem. I think that I'm autistic and I need support there. And so I got the diagnosis at the end of 2022. And it changed a lot. So it hasn't like made everything go away, but it's given me this understanding that I never had before. And it's allowed me to manage my environments more, to understand my struggles. And yeah, it's been really helpful. And coincidentally, around the same time, I found this love for cycling. And that really helped me. It gave me this. So I think the following year, I did my first solo bikepacking trip. I went down the Rhine by myself. And it was the scariest thing I've ever done, setting off on that trip. Like, I remember the night before, I was just crying. I was so upset because I'd never cycled on my own before. And then suddenly I was going to go like down the Rhine by myself. But it gave me a lot of confidence, and it really helped me, and it really, I think, kick-started this love of endurance cycling. And I think there's something in endurance cycling that really helps my brain, and it's given me confidence. I think all my life I thought I was just this fragile person that couldn't do things that most people can do without having meltdowns and stuff. But then finding this endurance cycling, I was like, well, actually I can do a lot more than I thought. So it's been great, and I've managed to come off all those medications, and I'm a different person than I was in 2022.
Are you kinder to yourself now you understand yourself better?
Yeah, I think so. It's hard. Sometimes it's hard to be kind to yourself realistically, but I do try, and I do understand when I'm struggling with things, why I'm struggling with them. Also, the people around me and my family have been amazing. They completely understand me, and they give me the space I need. And if I need space or I need support, then they've just been amazing at giving me that.
I mean, that's fantastic that you've got this support network who give you support, love, and time. I think that's absolutely crucial. A lot of your story definitely resonates with what one of my daughters is going through. My autistic daughter, she also finds cycling meditative. I think a lot of people do, and it's a big attraction. Obviously, we also know there are lots of other ultracyclists who are autistic who love endurance cycling because of the same reason. So Saz Harris, who I know you know very well, Claire Johnson as well, and they're very open about their anxieties and their struggles, and I think you help to inspire them. What would you say would be the best course of action for anyone who finds your story resonates with them and they think they're maybe autistic, they have a suspicion of that?
Well, I think there's lots of support now. I think people are talking more openly, so there's more support. I think the medical professionals are a little bit more aware, especially autism in women. I think they're more aware of it now. So I think there is much more support out there, and I think just talking and kind of being open, I think I try and be as open as possible about my struggles and things I find hard. So I think, just talking and exploring and contacting the GP, and I think they generally understand it a lot better now, so that's good. And I think that things have come on so much since I was a little girl in school. I think things have changed dramatically, which is really good.
Totally agree. I mean, having read some books and listened to some audiobooks on autism and knowing just how much support my daughter gets, there always was that misconception that autism is predominantly in boys, but now the diagnosis of the past where you have to behave like a boy in order to be diagnosed as autistic is just patently false. And the masking that happens that girls learn at a very young age hides away autistic tendencies and behaviors, so that you just blend more into the crowd, but the problems never get identified, and so the help isn't there because you just get labeled as not autistic, whereas the boys, oh yes, they're autistic, they're classically autistic. That's the belief there. So yeah, I think there is a lot more support out there now.
Yeah, and I think that masking so heavily contributes to my story's not unique. I think having those mental health struggles in your late teenage years is unfortunately quite a common story, and I'm not unique in that. And I think that heavily masking, and then it just kind of falls apart at that age, it just seems to. So yeah, it's really good that there's more understanding, and I'm much more confident that if I was younger in this day and age, that it would have been picked up, hopefully. So
yeah, and I think there are some very common issues which happen with autistic girls, which I think you've hinted at, like eating disorders. It's almost 100% correlation in autistic girls, and the same issues happen time and time again. So knowing that it's going to happen means that there's going to be more support, and it's not the problems are not going to be so severe. It's not because it's not going to take so long to discover. We know they're there. I mean, my daughter has had those eating disorders, but it's just something that we monitor as parents, and we can help her through. So I think
and it's also having support and knowledge for parents, because my parents didn't know. They didn't know anything about autism in girls. They weren't to know. So yeah, and I try and raise money for the Ambitious About Autism charity. They do amazing work, and they support children and young people with autism. So yeah, there's more charities like that. So that's just great.
Look at you from when we met at the start of chapter 1 to now, even to the end of chapter 1, to start of chapter 2, and to now, to see how your confidence has grown. And I think a lot of that's down to your resilience. You can do these things now. You're building that base of resilience. And when you started chapter 1, you had a goal, didn't you, of a distance to reach?
Yeah, why don't you tell us about that? Or if you still remember, what was that goal?
So my goal was to reach the first refuge. So
what did you do? What did you actually achieve? So with the first refuge was about 1,300 kilometers, something like that?
Yes, we did 3,100. So yeah, I think when I stopped, I initially was I was disappointed in myself, obviously, but then looking back...
That's an understatement.
Yeah.
You weren't just a little bit disappointed. I think you were crying at the time.
She cried on me in a Burger King in Modena, I think. I want to say it was Modena. It was somewhere like that.
I think you cried to me on the phone. And
I
had to remind you.
On the way down, on the very long motorway journey down to the finish line. We did stop for recovery pizza several times on the way down. I wanted to do 1,800K, and I did 3,100. Easy to see in hindsight, I think. Achievement.
Yeah. But that was great. It was really hard to start that, obviously, because it was such a unknown and such this big daunting thing. But having Pete as a contact right from the beginning really helped. So I didn't know Pete at all before. And knowing that there was that support there, it was really helpful just to start.
I think this is something that we've talked about previously on one of the first podcasts where we introduced Pete. And just to remind that any of our listeners that as the broom wagon mechanic, he's not just a driver. He's there to support people that we think need additional help and support and a little bit of extra care and attention. So yes, he was watching you in chapter 1. He was then also tasked with looking after our paracyclist, Wayne Harrod, who only has a partial leg. Also our hand cyclist, Mel, in chapter 2. So he's always there, tasked to follow the rear of the race, and you weren't at the rear in chapter 2. That's why his remit is to pick up broken riders and broken bikes.
With you and with Wayne and Mel, it's not about physical assistance. It's about more, for want of a better description, moral support. I think it's that having someone you can call, that understands the situation that you're in, has been through similar things, can provide you with a bit of advice and hopefully, help you see the bigger picture. And with you, it's been really great to see you kind of come on leaps and bounds. And, I think there was a sense of unfinished business at the end of chapter 1, wasn't there? You felt like we spent a lot of time in the car on that drive down to the finish line talking about that. And afterwards, I think a lot of your disappointment came from the fact that you weren't far, really. In the scheme of things, we were not far from the finish. And was it unfinished business that brought you back to chapter 2?
A little bit. I mean, it was the community and the route and everything like that. But there was a bit of me that right from the beginning, I was like, I really want to make the whole distance. And that's why I set off not racing it, like I set off in my own pace and looking after my head in a way that I needed to, because my goal was I really want to get to the finish and I don't want to stop.
Yeah, it takes a lot of mental resilience, though, to be able to race your own race. We talk to our successful, some of our other really successful riders will say is that you race your own pace. You can't worry about what other people are doing. You have to do what you want to do. To be able to focus on yourself when there's loads of other people in the same event as you is a big, that's an important skill to have, I think, for a successful ultra rider.
Yeah, I think it's a sensible thing to ride it as an individual time trial. I think some of our other riders, maybe like Sam Muscat, the Australian, like to treat it like a stage race and race past people, overtake them, and then completely die for a while. Raced Yair up, I think he was racing up to Rosfeld Panorama Strasse, raced past Lucas Becker on the flats. That's a little bit less sensible.
Yeah, you learn, don't you? I think there's a big learning. Ultras are great. You learn so much about yourself, and I think it's been great to see you grow, your confidence grow, just generally off the bike as well as on the bike.
Did you ever feel tempted to race other races when you saw their dots, or if you saw them around you?
Not really, because it's such a long event, and I really wanted to. I know my head and I know my body, and I was like, if I start racing people, then I don't. It's not going to go well for me. I don't think. I need that sleep period to then be happy and perform well in the day, and that's just how my body and my mind works. And I didn't get caught up in other people, especially at the beginning. I mean, it's such a long race. There's no point in. Yeah, but for me, I just need to do my own thing and then see what happens.
Some people were racing to the first gates. I'm not sure why they thought that there was a finish line there at 50k.
Yeah,
3,950 kilometers to go. There's no finish line there, guys.
No, it's learning, isn't it? And your resilience. We talked about, your neck. Which I guess is both a high and a low point finishing with it and obviously suffering with it. But for me, and we laughed at the time, watching you in the car park ride past the camera the first time in the McDonald's car park, as you rode past the camera really slowly with the rubber band holding the back of your helmet onto your rack, and holding your head up. You went right past the camera once, then went past the camera in the distance as you came back round, and then there was a sort of kerfuffle noise as you got off the bike, and then reappeared in front of the camera, going, "Oh, I think this works."
I think it was a bit more than a rubber band, Pete. It looked
it was a whole inner tube.
Massive.
It was a huge inner tube. Yeah. But yeah,
I did get some funny looks from the people in the McDonald's. I don't know what they thought I was doing.
Did anybody come over to ask you, "Are you okay?"
No, they didn't actually. No, just walking at me,
tapping all their friends, going, "Get your phone out, record this lady in the car."
Don't get too close, though. Ooh.
Yeah. So you've been super focused on your cycling for the last couple of years. We've talked about that. And what else have you been up to? Do you have any plans to pass on that knowledge and experience that you've gained in these last few years? We talked briefly about your coaching.
Yeah, so I've got an amazing coach, and she's helped me so much, not just with my fitness, but in confidence, in all the other aspects of endurance cycling. And I then got interested in coaching, and I love data, but I'd love to myself support other people and help them do endurance and long distance challenges. So I'm trying to get into that now.
So have you done courses and on learning lessons, that sort of thing, lectures?
Yeah, so I'm ABCC level 3 qualified cycling coach now, and done some Training Peaks qualifications as well. So I'm all set to go, and it was really useful. Like I really enjoy learning, and I kind of over the last couple of years, I've really enjoyed picking up bits of knowledge about different training methods and things like that, and how the body responds. But actually doing the qualifications was really good, kind of to go into that in a little bit more detail. So it's been really interesting, and looking forward to using it and seeing where I go with it.
Coincidentally, my daughter also had inspiration when she gave up her cyclocross training and decided that she wanted to help the other kids at cyclocross in her cyclocross club. And so the club offered to pay for her to do a BC level 1 course. So she did that. So she's also on that path. So
wow, that's amazing.
Yes. And having told her about your story, she was incredibly inspired and loved the parallels of your lives, and being able to relate to what I've done in ultracycling as well. So that's been very nice. So, have you encountered any ultracyclists with autism? And I don't think you are aware of how you do actually inspire people.
Oh, thank you. No, well, I know that I know of some autistic ultracyclists who are amazing. Like Saz is an incredible ultracyclist, Saz Harris, and Claire Johnson as well. And I know that how ultracycling and endurance cycling can seem to benefit me and help me, so I can see why other autistic individuals are drawn to it. And I originally, and I want to share my story and how things have progressed for me, the good and the bad, because, well, if I can help or inspire a younger version of myself, then that would be amazing. Because I go back to that Facebook post that I read that caused me to realize I was autistic. I think it changed things for me. So, and also, I want to be really honest, like, about the difficulties, and it's not, I didn't get this diagnosis and then everything was perfect. Like, I still have my struggles. So yeah, I want to continue being honest about those as well.
I guess one of the questions to follow up with that is where, if people would like to reach out to you for kind of to talk about cycling and autism, or to talk about coaching and things, where can they find you?
I've got a website, so ultrafiona.com, or on Instagram. So they're probably the best methods.
Because I do think you are unaware of how impressive and how inspiring your story is, and that's, you know, your willingness to share is, and to be open about the challenges of these things, the challenges that you faced, is, you know, a trait that a lot of people could benefit from.
Please do carry on inspiring.
Oh, thank you.
I think that's all the questions that we have. One last one, which is, why are you called Fiona Seabrook? I mean, most people know you as Fiona Shorten. So have you got a quick explanation for us on that before we close?
Yeah, so Seabrook is my maiden name. So after separation, I've gone back to Seabrook.
So you've changed your name to Seabrook, and
yeah,
but Ultra Fiona, that's how we know you.
Yeah.
But yeah, as with all the members of our VIA community, it was really great to catch up with you. I think the last time that we saw you, or I saw you, was end of November in Brixton for the film screening.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was nice. We haven't seen you. Well, I haven't seen you for some time. I have listened to your podcast, which is called
We'll Ride for Ice Cream.
Ride for Ice Cream, and that's with Pete. When's the next episode coming out? I've been waiting for that for some time.
We are going to arrange a plan for that.
Yeah, we have some planning meetings next week, at which point we will be able to announce some form of a schedule. But we're trying to keep it.
To all our listeners, you can email us a question at info@via-race.com, whether you're a rider or a member of the public. And to help support the podcast, please like this episode and give us a follow on Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or visit our website, or do all of them. We're a very small team with a focus on growing the ultracycling community, the VIA community, and furthering the sport of ultracycling. So your support is greatly appreciated. Links are in the notes below. See you next time, and goodbye.